Welcome back, everybody, to A Little Less Fear podcast. I'd like to introduce Ash Marshall Odell. She teaches many modalities to include Reiki, lightwork, meditation, symbology, crystal therapy, chakras, aura, color, and frequency healing, subtle energies, spirit guides, ancestral and past life healing, and journeying within and without. If you are seeking help with your spiritual awakening or path to overcome blocks, to heal and to more deeply understand the core influences of higher self, also known as your soul, mind, body, and emotions on your life, and the sum total of your experiences, you can receive spiritual mentoring to assist you to understand and enlighten your being, your vibration, your consciousness, and to tune into yourself for more awareness, insight, and ease, and to release suffering and blocks to allow freedom, growth, and deeper and higher levels of consciousness. This is Ash Marshall Odell. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So tell us, Ash, how did your journey begin? This is some powerful stuff, and it's right in alignment with what I practice every day. And it took me a lot of suffering to get to where I'm at today. So I'm wondering how your journey brought you, or where your journey came from to bring you to where you are right now, to this level of awareness.
Absolutely. It's been a long one. And I actually began almost a decade ago.
Oh, wow. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I've been on this path, if you want to say, even though it isn't really a path, but we'll call it a journey, because that one just sort of encompasses all of it in a lot of ways. And when you have had trauma in your life, like I did, I had mental, emotional, physical, and sexual trauma as a very young child. And it was a long time of that. And you kind of develop beliefs and behaviors to keep yourself safe. And I had a huge number of fears. And I've forgotten most of it because I have lots of gaps and holes in my earlier life, because that's just what the brain does, protect you. And when I had my daughter, that's when things started coming up for me. And I was this very overprotective mom, and I was filled with fear all the time. And I also definitely knew that I was holding my daughter back. I was holding her potentiality down. And I wanted to be the healthy mom for my daughter. So for me, healing began to help my child. I did it for
Wow.
my daughter rather than myself. And so I worked with an energy psychologist for quite a while, did trauma group, and deep dived into my own issues and studied a lot of things. And it was actually during a retreat in my women's trauma group. We went to a crystal shop for fun. And I came from a very conservative Christian Southern background. And sort of the most out of the box thing I'd ever done was acupuncture and chiropractic. So I didn't know anything. I thought crystals, like the fourth grade where you put the string in the solution. That's what I knew.
Yeah.
That's what I knew.
You thought chemistry?
Right. And so I went into this crystal shop, and it was really bizarre because it felt almost like magnets. And I was just pulled, pulled. And my hand would just go right to crystals. So I ended up with this set of crystals on this tray. And it was like, it's almost like being high. Your crown chakra, mine was open. So my crown chakra was just like, and I was just like very expanded in that moment. And getting these crystals, went back to the house. And that evening I put them on my body. I had no idea what I was doing. It was like some knowledge. It was like here, here, and here. And this whoosh of energy. And it's like a massive gale force wind blowing from the crown of my head all the way through my body and out my feet. And that was my first experience within my body of energy. And I was like, what just happened? And oh my goodness. And love crystals and have ever since. They're amazing. And then for whatever reason, Reiki, again, didn't know anything about it. And it was just this warmth, this just big, orange, massive warmth in front of me. Reiki. And there were all these practitioners around me, and I didn't want any of those. There was this one in Eugene. It was like, boom, my attention went right to that. So I went there.
Ash, how did you find Reiki? Did somebody say the word to you and you were like, Reiki, what's that? Or did you just kind of discover it on your own?
It has been a decade. I know my husband said it to me at one point, and then I just like, I don't know what that is. I'm open, but eh. And I will tell you truly, I really am not clear on how it's been a decade.
Wow.
And so I ended up going and had my first attunement. And it was really fascinating because Reiki clears the energy channels in your palms because it's attuned to your heart, your hands, and your body. And it opens the energy channels or pathways in the body. The primordians is what they teach in Chinese medicine. And you actually can feel and interpret the information in your brain. So you will feel
What?
pressures or spots or hot and cold or a magnet. And you're able to use these vibrational frequencies that are installed inside of you to make changes, to heal it, to lift it, to change the vibration of it so it releases and transmutes and transforms. And it's amazing. And that night, after experiencing that and doing Reiki in class with others, which again was another very interesting experience in and of itself, I woke up that night and I'm laying there and I look up above me, and here are all of these animals, blue and red limbed animals swimming above me in the air. And I had not had that kind of thing where I saw light. Whales, and they just swam above me and were looking at me, and I was like, "Oh, holy fuck, what is
Wow,
going
that's
on?"
beautiful.
It was amazing and scary. I had also had experience where a gentleman, 1800s, and had a pocket watch, and he was standing beside my husband's side of the bed, a ghost. And all I could get from I'm late, I'm late. He was there for a while. My cat would sniff him. I had a kitten in front of my pantry door, the house that we moved into, that would wind itself around my ankles. And so all of these experiences were bizarre. I didn't really know exactly what to make of a lot of them. And at this
Yeah.
point in my journey, I was so full of fear of everything.
And all this happened after the treatment of Reiki.
This was all sort of bumping in and out. So all of this was kind of winding its way through. So at different parts at different times. Because then my grandfather, my maternal grandfather showed up, and I was like, oh wow, I'm not okay with this, you know. And then you get in touch with Reiki guides and angels and archangels and all of it. And things move through and flow with your journey. And I did not have control over it. I didn't understand it. And so, me being me, nerd girl, I dove into research. So I piled like 50 million books trying to make myself understand it all, which you can't.
Right. Yeah.
You have to experience, you have to integrate, and then understanding comes when you make neural connections, right?
Right.
So it took a lot of time, and every single stage of that journey brought new neural connections, brought an up leveling of my energy itself, so that I just kept feeling better and better and better and better. And concurrently, this entire time I was doing therapy, because energy is great, but if you have beliefs, you can do all the energy work in the world, and you're still going to allow and fill that same energy back up inside your being
Mhm.
until you release that belief block, and then it flows out of you. And
Now
you,
that time has passed, Ash, are you able to go back and figure out what the whales were and what
Mhm.
the 1800s man was? Or did you ever go back and was like, oh, now I understand what that was?
So, just not to freak everyone out, truly,
Sure.
we're never alone. There are ghosts everywhere. You have them right behind you right
Oh
now,
yeah. Yeah.
right? We have spirit guides with us
Hmm.
all the time. We're never actually alone.
Right.
And we're helped in many ways. And where your energy is, people call it vibration. I hesitate to call it that because so many people have, bad vibes, or, don't put your dirty vibes on me. And that's so you. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You are as you are in that moment, doing the very best you can in that moment. And so blaming people for how they are in themselves doesn't resonate with me.
Mhm.
And also where we are in particular time and place within our energy, our vibration attracts, right? So,
Sure.
like when you showed up, I was like, oh, yes, please. It felt good to have this podcast interview with you.
Thank you.
So, things and people show up in our lives based on a variety of factors, to
Mhm.
include what's going on with you, right?
Sure.
You know, yeah, and we always learn. So every single thing in the world has a meaning to it. So whales have a meaning. Diving into your depths, look inside yourself. The
True.
ghost was just a guy that, like, hey, there's somebody here. Maybe this person can help me, right? At that time, I was like, I don't know what you're doing here, and I'd like you please to go because I'm not comfortable.
Right.
But yeah, so sometimes I help spirits, ghosts to cross over, to pass to the next place that they are ready to go to, right?
So
So
do you think the 1800s guy was there for you to help him, or was he there to help you?
he was here for me to help him. He was
Oh,
stuck.
wow.
He was
Oh,
stuck. He
whoa.
just kept saying, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. And he just had his watch, and he really, all I could get is something about a train. That's all I knew about him, because I didn't want to
Oh, wow.
go more than that. And when you allow that, um, it's an energy exchange. It's me helping them just like I would an embodied person
Uh-huh.
heal something that's keeping them stuck. Because sometimes, just because you die doesn't mean all your issues and what you dealt with in life
Mhm.
disappear, right? So yeah. So sometimes clients have had family members show up in session, and sometimes I have allowed, because that would help my client, my embodied client.
Mhm.
Most often in the past, it has been not, because the family member required something to help them heal. And my client is the person with me, not that person. So if it's helpful to them, yes, and we'll talk about or do something that allows something to let go or to change. Otherwise, I keep it out. So everything can be all different things in a session.
Oh, yeah, this is incredible. So how do you know the difference though between energies coming from a different timeline versus it being like spirit, or is it the same thing?
Mm, isn't that a fun question?
Yeah.
Have you studied quantum physics?
Yes. It's one of my passions. Every night I listen to Dolores Cannon. I'm obsessed.
Mm, it's just like this. Oh, so
Yeah.
so good. So, if you were to consider that all time is now, because time and
Yes.
space are also connected, right? In Reiki, they have this wonderful symbol called the distance symbol. You can send energy back in time. So, you can't change the events. However, you can change the energy of. So, then that energy then travels forward and it's helping you now.
So
So,
that's how ancestral healing works.
that is similar. That is
Okay.
very similar. And you can also make changes within the ancestral line itself. Now, not past, but now, so that all future lines, there's a difference. Isn't that wonderful? And if you were to consider a future you, maybe future you, maybe 100 or 200 years from now, has enlightened incredibly, and they decide to send healing energy back to you. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
So you're enlightened. There are many things in the field, and time is a human constraint, because even if you were to travel out into the vast, vast reaches of the universe, time and space work differently
Mhm.
dependent on different factors.
Yes.
So, right, the same thing can occur within the field. Everything is energy. Matter is just dense, dense energy,
Mhm.
vibrating energy that comes together. And it's the attraction of that energy that creates this. So, by virtue of that logic, we can uncreate and create, because all of us are both creators and destroyers. And it's when you're in that healthy balance that you're allowing things to shift for yourself or for others. Because again, energy just doesn't stop, energy travels, it flows in and out. The universe sends a pulse to us,
Mhm.
we send it back out. There's always a flow of energy and planetary changes. You know, people talk about the full moon madness. Well, there's a reason for that. There's an energy shift. You have the outer planets, things block or open in the energy fields based on planetary movements, based on places in the earth. So if you were to go to Hawaii, for example, it's a very different feeling. So when I was there, I was grounded all the way up without doing anything, like just walking around all the way up to my calves, which was an interesting feeling. Here, I have to reach down some more than I
Oh,
do
wow.
there. So there are so many different things in the way that energy works based on so many different factors. And when we allow, there's just so much within it that we can tune into when we learn, right? To make those changes. That being said, the most incredibly beneficial thing that you can do for yourself is tune into you. Because everything in your reality, everything out here for you, your reality, comes from within you.
Mhm.
So it's an amazing um, way of sort of thinking about you and your life and being able to create changes and do things. And people are far more powerful than they realize. And it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It's something that I've been doing recently, just with the whole knowledge of knowing that time and that the past, the present, the future is all happening simultaneously. So what I've been doing recently is praying for all my former selves and all different timelines and all my mothers and my children's and children and I mean I don't have any kids now, but obviously I had kids in other lives. So I pray for everyone in every timeline and every time period that exists. That way I know that I'm covering all my corners and I'm feeling complete, if that makes any sense.
It does. Um, we are all vastly interconnected. You know, they had that theory that was developed 6 degrees of separation. I often wonder if we don't have more than that.
I'm not familiar with 6 degrees of separation. What does that mean?
So um, you would know there are only 6 degrees of separation between you and every other person. So, for instance, Joe Biden and you know someone that knows Joe Biden or can connect you to Joe Biden. This was a
Probably
theory developed, gosh, probably a decade or two ago. So, probably, what are you, 20s?
me. Oh, thank you. I'm gonna be 43 in January.
Well, you look amazing.
I
I would have
appreciate
thought
that.
you were in your 20s. Yeah, no. That's hilarious.
That is
Um,
hilarious. Thank you.
yes.
20 something years ago.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, time flies too, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it sure does.
But no, so that theory was, I want to say, probably somewhere between 10 and 20 years ago developed. And it was by someone connected to Facebook, if I recall correctly. So it was sort of at about the time Facebook was really coming up. But please don't quote me 100% on that because I'm
Sure,
not.
I'll look it up afterwards. I'm just,
Yeah.
if you can give me a brief synopsis, that would be great.
Yeah, no. So like, you know Joe, Joe knows Mary, Mary knows Paul, Paul knows Bill, Bill knows Joe Biden. And that was just what they theorized, 6 degrees of separation. Yeah. And I sometimes wonder if there isn't that much or more of interconnectivity between individuals.
Right, and that's just at that point, it's just all mental. It's all
Mhm.
mind,
And energy.
mind and energy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thoughts are energy, emotions are energy, everything's vibration. So thoughts, you have brain waves, and you have different brain states that are just made up of more concentrated or the presence of a greater number of brain waves of particular type. So beta, alpha, gamma, delta, theta. So they're measured in hertz or vibrations.
Yes.
Emotions are measured in hertz or vibrations. Our physical bodies, so like the heart has like, I think it's like 1.2 hertz. They measure that. All of it is vibrations. So we're able to tune into and people can understand vibrations.
Yeah,
So
including color and food and water, everything. Everything vibrates.
mm-hmm. Isn't it amazing?
I want to bring this up because I've been figuring, and I'm going to bring up the age group, the 20s. Speaking of the 20s, I've noticed that actually the new age, this new generation, people and their kids in their, or kids, young adults in their 20s are starting to become more awakened, way more than I was 20 years ago. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I'm noticing, especially on TikTok at night, that all of these really enlightened young souls are like educating me things about these type of conversations. And I'm wondering, do you see this growth of awareness happening compared to the way it was when you were in your 20s?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I very much enjoy history. And also, as we go through cycles, we repeat the same cycles again and again and again, but we make small changes. That's the evolution, right, of everything, because everything changes, right? And as we have developed all of these technologies, we have connected people. We have connected new ideas, new perceptions, new emotions, because all of those things arouse within us feelings, beliefs, perceptual changes, right? Once you
Yes.
become aware of it, you can't not be, right? I mean,
Right.
I guess you could if you tried really hard, but it would be a lot of work. So as all of these changes occur and people connect more and more and more, there is a lot of growth in other areas than there had been previously, is what I've been noticing. And simply by studying the metaphysical, that can awaken people in a big way,
Yes.
right? And if you have an experience with someone, so say for instance, you resonate very strongly with someone, it might connect something in your brain that's just aha, and you get this big opening here, and all of a sudden, like, oh, and that's your opening. Or someone says a particular word, and it might hang out with you for a while. You don't really know, but then someone has something else. So there are all of these different ways and means by virtue of the interconnectivity that we now
Yes.
have virtually, and by all of this information that is now available more readily to people all around the world, that allows us to do more and more and more. And kids are more open
I'll
than
say, yeah.
adults, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, each generation, you change something from the previous, right? That's just how we do. You know, you learn from every previous generation has taught something, right?
Yes.
And we bring that forth, and it just creates beautiful growth for all of us and hard change, because all of that's in there.
Oh yeah. So speaking of generations, Ash, let's get into the subject of ancestral healing.
Uh-huh.
So what is ancestral healing? Let's say somebody's tuning into this podcast for the first time. They're like, ancestral, what is this? And I mean, what does this mean? And what does it mean for me? And yeah, what can you tell us about that?
I would love to. So all of us come from a very long line of people, right? We are deeply rooted in the earth, evolved over. We all get that we're from, you know, Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal and Australopithecus, we get that, it's there. And these ancestors pass down genetics. They also pass down ways of thinking, ways of being based on environment. So
Yes.
a person that grew up on an island is going to have a very different way of being than a person that grew up in Russia. Let's say these two people meet and marry.
Right. That's
They
true.
spin their
Wow.
needles, right?
Oh, wow.
And every single generation is going to have both positive things that help us do, and we also bring up things in our cycles that we learn in families, most often based on fear, right?
Yes.
That hold us back or keep us stuck in ways. So not only is it can be a genetic thing, so worry and anxiety have been shown to be carried through the genetic line. Well, at some point, that became a thing in your line. It's not something, you're necessarily every single family is born with, right? But
Right.
something may have happened and it gets put into the genetic line. So our ancestors are with us here behind us, our whole line of generation going all the way back. And they're also here within us, within the very cells of our being. And you do not lose that connection to them. And we also send that forward into the next generation, right? Because, my grandchildren already exist and existed before I even had my child. Isn't that amazing?
Right. Yeah, that is amazing.
Yes. And so ancestral healing, everything is energy, right? Like just like what we talked about. So if you were to consider that you can send energy back in time and into your very genes, which, as I said, energy doesn't stop, keeps going. You direct it with intention and with particular vibrational frequencies for what's needed to heal. You can make changes. You can help your ancestors to be free, because sometimes our ancestors are chained to this reality by events. I feel pretty much every person on the planet is a survivor in some way or other. We all have things that have hurt us.
Sure.
And those heavy things keep us stuck in many ways. And so when we heal ancestrally, we're making changes here, literally in our embodiment and for our ancestors, which then flows forward for our children, our grandchildren. And it's a beautiful way of healing. I had with Pranic Reiki, I founded that actually came in before COVID. I am a massive meditator and I do a lot of meditative art. And so I ended up painting this painting and I was like, oh, this is different. And all I knew about it at the point was it was connected to blood and bone.
Blood and bone?
Blood and bone. That's all I knew at that point. And it just hung out for a while. And in a session with a client, I was attuned to these 2 new symbols because those were required to help this client to heal.
I'm sorry, come again. These were the images that you were getting and that you were feeling. You were feeling blood and bone?
Yeah, this is what I did in the painting.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, got it.
Gotcha. So sorry. And then I had a client also, I think slightly before that, before the painting happened. Sorry, it'd be helpful if I got the timeline in actual order. So I was doing a client session, and during the session, the Reiki session I was doing, I was actually attuned by, we have masters that aren't embodied, so connected to things. So
Ascended masters.
Ascended master, yes, attune me to 2 new symbols in this session because it was required to help this person to fully heal.
Oh, wow.
I didn't use those again for years. And then I did the painting and it sat there for a while. And I was like, okay. And then during COVID, I was attuned to another symbol because I'm a Usui Holy Fire Reiki master and I meditate a lot. And this new symbol came in and it is connection to Mother Earth. Like it is the strongest. Like this new symbol, it was like fire and it rose up above my head. My whole being, like out to here, all the way past my head, several feet, was encased in fire for weeks. It was really interesting. And then more symbols came and I was attuned to those. And part of the symbols were for ancestral, karmic, and past life healing. So during this journey over the last several years, my grandparents, paternal and maternal, both sets, I was not very connected to my paternal grandparents, but my maternal raised me a lot. And I will get emotional. I'll just tell you truly. I adore them. I miss them so much when they passed, and I got to be with them and heal.
Wow.
Both sets, and so much released out of all of us, and it was glorious. It was beautiful. It was beautiful because in my line, anger is a thing. And so to be able to release all of that, so freeing and so helpful, and all these other emotions that were kind of muddied up in the relationship, right? So that was such a fabulous experience.
It sounds incredible.
It was. I have so much gratitude. I mean, it has been a blessing beyond belief, truly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Can we go back to the conversation about crystals?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely.
So we have birthstones, and just recently, like 2 nights ago, I decided my birthstone is a garnet, and I decided to, if I've had this necklace, this beautiful garnet for years. I mean, like 12 years, and I wear it maybe once every 3 or 4 years. And I just had this urge to wear it a couple nights ago, and I put it on, and I started having all these epiphanies, and I felt really aligned, and my meditation was super powerful. And I started thinking at that moment, are our birthstones meant to do this for us? Or is that why we have a birthstone? No. Okay. So what is the point of a birthstone?
Like all stones, there's never just one thing, right? There are many, many things because every time you make a change, what is required in the next part will potentially be different or very different. So when I first started, I had one of my stones, I have it back here, was an amethyst column.
I love amethyst. Yeah.
Mhm. And a citrine and a raw ruby.
Oh, I love all those.
And an aqua aura.
Beautiful.
And I'm trying to remember there, I think there was a next one. Well, those, woo, worked with those for a while. And then intuitively, I knew I needed others. So most recently, I just went and picked these up because these are currently helping me. So I have a heat treated amethyst, which
Wow.
a lot of people will call a citrine, but it's a heat treated amethyst. And
Is it
then
a rose quartz?
rose quartz. I had not really vibed with rose quartz until now. I have a huge. Most people have a sock drawer. I have a crystal drawer. I'll just tell you the truth. I've been a lot. And when I was working on clearing up mediumship, because as um, you work through cycles, some things are required. So I went to this street fair, and there was this lady selling crystals, and she had a Herkimer diamond, and the back of my neck and head lit up like noonday sun. I was like,
Wow.
okay, you're going home with me. And interestingly and funnily enough, I've been working on my birth chart, and it had all these hearts on it. So I did a meditative drawing of what my actual birth chart looks like for me. And there were all these hearts on it. And that Herkimer diamond has a heart
Wow.
because it's in a rock encased, and there's this heart in the rock with the Herkimer diamond showing through. It's just sort of funny how sometimes things show up for us. And
Mhm.
at the right time, the right thing can whoosh you over.
Yeah, nothing's a coincidence. They're all messages, definitely.
Now, synchronicities are beautiful, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So, but what about the birthstones? Like, why are we born with these birthstones that's supposed to be part of us? I mean, does it not matter? Could we just dive into any birthstone and then go and see what actually feels good for us? Like for me, I'm wearing a sapphire. I love sapphires. And that's not my birthstone, but I'm in love with it. And I feel incredible when I wear sapphire.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's how you feel.
So it's all about how you feel, not necessarily the stone you're born with.
'Cause again, it's vibrations.
True. I love it. I love it. And that's
Yeah.
so interesting because sometimes when I'm when I'm in the zone on Etsy, I will be looking at all these different stones, and all of a sudden I'm just so attracted to, let's say, pyrite, or I'm so attracted to hematite. Right now I've got my eyes on hematite. I'm like, well, I don't own any hematite, but why do I want hematite? So I started doing all this research on hematite, and I'm still stubborn that I need to get some hematite. So hematite's going to do something for me that I'm not sure yet, but I know when I wear it and when I see it and when I feel it, I'm going to know it.
Yes, you will. That's right.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Our bodies are naturally drawn to because we're an energy. We
Yeah.
are an energy system, and our energy, can bring us forward to what's required when we allow it. I did a workshop earlier this year, and I was working with all these ladies, and I would say probably 95% of them were not really familiar with energy work or anything. So I was teaching a plant medicine class and a crystal class. And so I'm talking about all these different things, the shape, because crystals come in forms. So 7 forms, right, determine how the energy flows. And so I gave that. And then I had raw
What do you mean by
crystals.
forms? You mean like in raw form, in a soft form? What do you mean
No,
by
I
forms?
mean the 3D atomic lattice structure.
And that is what actually makes the color and the and
Impurities,
oh, I see.
electromagnetic energy, radiation, the minerals in the earth, the heat, gases, um, Did I say pressure? I think I said that one. All of these come together to form different types of crystals. So you have jaspers and jades. You have quartz, which is the largest family. You have calcites and agates. Although some people, I think, contend that those aren't really a crystal, but they work great. So I call them a crystal. And so some crystals can look very much alike externally, but the way that you know really what it is by looking at that atomic lattice structure. So there are 7 geometric forms that come together to create a crystal. So a
Wow.
trapezium is layered and it forms this lattice that makes it.
Mhm.
And so that's the flow of energy through crystals. And it, might have blocks or occlusions, is what jewelers call them. And so that determines the way the energy flows. And the color also, because again, color is measured in hertz, which is vibration. So, and I feel that when we get what is required with that vibrational field for our whole being,
Yes.
or a part of us, it heals it. So this lady came up and I just picked up the citrine, I put it right on her solar plexus and she just burst into tears.
What?
She's like, I don't even know
Wow.
why I'm crying. And I'm like, okay. And I asked her if I could hug her. I hugged her. And
How
then
did you know that was the right crystal for her?
I am, as I said, I'm incredibly intuitive, like just psychic medium. So I'm claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairkinesthetic, clairalient, which means smell and taste. Um, I do a lot of stuff.
That's
I do a
amazing.
lot of stuff. So yeah, so I gave her an ametrine, which is amethyst and citrine, to sit with there. To just help it ease. And then I did that with all the ladies, and they were astounded. And a lady videotaped it. She's like, "Oh my god," and it's just her friends. So it's truly astonishing because they would not have believed that they could have chosen their own crystals. So getting to play is huge. Play is fun, and it also lightens us up and shows us what's possible when we
Right.
relax and go with it. It's really cool.
Speaking of play, I have a rock that I've had for like
Ooh.
10 years. It's from, I went hiking once and I found this rock and I still have it. And I don't want to say it's like my pet, but it's kind of like my pet rock. I love this rock and I love putting it in my hand. I love the weight. I love the look of it. And I'm wondering, do rocks have similar energies?
I have rocks too. I
Yeah.
don't often, but I have been on a river and a rock came home with me, out on a hike, and I have a rock that sits right underneath my desk, right in front of my feet.
Oh,
I
wow.
have a bunch of rocks in my plant behind me. I have rocks at my front door that my friend Melody's property gifted me. And that sounds a little weird, but I'm a shaman too, so we'll just let that be because that's
I
a whole
love it.
other topic. Um, and there is so much energy contained in all kinds of places. Our plants have energy.
Right.
They communicate with us.
I recently told my roommate because we have not a lot of plants, but enough plants. And I was like, maybe we should experiment with putting crystals in the soil. And what do you think about that? Putting
Depends
crystals
on
in
the
the soil.
crystal. Depends on some crystals like selenite. They dissolve in water. So all your
Oh,
selenites.
what? I didn't know that. Selenite dissolves in water?
Yeah, don't clean it in water. You want to clean it
Whoa.
in salt, Epsom salt, right?
Wow.
Other crystals such as malachite, if you put them in Epsom salt, you'll pit them because the surface.
What?
Yeah. So calcite, if you rub on it, you actually change its structure. So some of them are very sensitive,
Oh, wow.
and some of them can put things in the soil that, some of your plants may be like, no, I don't want that.
Right.
Because
Okay,
it's also a
good.
mineral, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
just check into what your different plants require
Tune in and see.
nutritionally,
Yeah, right.
right?
I love it.
But I have rocks in my plant back here. It's very happy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like we could keep talking. I wish we weren't out of time because these are my passions, and I'm really glad that we've connected. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. How can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you? And how can they get some of this energy clearing, some of this help?
I have a website, sacredjourneyswithash.com, and that's all spelled out. And you can find me on Facebook, Journeys with Ash, as well as Instagram, Sacred Journeys with Ash.
Sacred Journeys Journeys as in IES.
or EYS with Ash.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I look forward to keeping in touch with you. And I hope you have a blessed day. We're now connected. We've always been connected, and we are realigning ourselves right now. Thank you so much for this incredible energy.
Thank you. It was a fun day.
I agree. Thank you so much.